I may be a bum, but I'm not dumb. It's time for a bum knowledge corner. Hello, YouTubers. I am the Car Bum, and this is my corner. Today's knowledge corner is going to be about is not going to be academic, but it's going to be on other topics. Obviously, since you are reading the title right now, it's going to be about Disney's accidental tragic hero. Now, let's first off establish what a tragic hero is. A tragic hero is any character whose fatal flaw, their actions, beliefs, and mentality, compulsion, and obsession, and their particular circumstances, so where they are and what's happening, leads them on a path of their own destruction. The most One of the most famous ones is definitely Macbeth. Everything he does ultimately leads to an army coming in and killing him. And if he didn't do that, he probably would have been a very happy guy, you know. So it was his own thing. So his actions do not fit the situation that he is in. If you want to know, if you want to have a more in-depth look on this subject, then you should go over to Overly Sarcastic Productions. I will try to remember to put the link in below. Um, Especially their they talk about this in depth in their trope talk on tragedy. But who is this a tragic hero? Disney has had a lot of heroes over the years, and you may be wondering, well, none of the heroes actually have a tragic downfall, so to speak. Well, not until like Rogue One, but yeah. Um, so you might be wondering what character it is, and I'm going to tell you right now because it is Gaston. That's right, this big beefy boy. And I know exactly what you're thinking. Um, Mostly, Gaston is not a hero. Gaston is a villain. But in that video on Overly Sarcastic Productions that I was talking about, they actually talk about, depending on your point of view, most tragic heroes from anybody's else perspective would most likely look like a villain. And the best thing is to actually look at what point did he become a villain and why. So let's take a closer look at Gaston. Okay, in the beginning, he's arrogant, misogynistic, uh, conceited, dismissive, narcissistic, entitled, and just an overall big round musclehead. But this doesn't actually make him a villain. There's actually a character in the Disney library that has all of these traits. Every last one of them, and is actually framed as the hero. And who is this character? Maui from Moana. I cannot say those names right. I am trying so hard, but I just can't do it. Um, and when you think about it, yeah, he has all these treats, or traits and treats. He has treats. No, he has all these traits. Like the first thing he does is sing the song "You're Welcome." So he's very narcissistic, conceited, entitled, all that type of stuff, and he's also extremely dismissive of Moana, mostly because she's a girl, she wears a dress, and she has a animal sidekick, so she's a princess. Like that's all the traits right there between his song and that's all of them, just there. But the funny thing about this guy is that he is worse than Gaston at the beginning, because within the first 5 minutes of his introduction into the movie, he entombs Moana into a cave. I do not remember this when I watched it. I only watched it when it came out, so that might be why. But yeah, this is attempted murder. I do not know how she got out. I'm guessing there's a hole in the ceiling because for some reason Disney loves holes in ceilings in caves. For some, it happens a lot. There's a cave and then there's just a hole in the ceiling. It's a Disney thing, I guess. Um, but there is no way that she could ever move this boulder. So I'm 100% am certain that this guy right here is trying to kill her. And then after that, he steals her boat. So he's really. So within the first 5 minutes of Gaston, yeah, he's a bit of a jerk, but this guy here, he straight up tries to murder somebody. That's a fun little fact. But what are the good traits of Gaston? Yeah, you thought he didn't have any, did you? But he does. But we have to take this. But we're going to be looking at the values of the time period, which was France around 1740, homage when the original book was written, which was in France in 1740. The town that is depicted is actually a rural or agricultural village. Rural. Uh, and I'm taking that into account also. First off, strength and duty. That's a very important. Family was also very important at that time. Community values was very important at that time. Religion, uh, is was also very important, but since religion is not ever mentioned in the entirety of this storyline, I that part is going to be ignored because it doesn't seem to be a factor. And it is towards the end of the Renaissance, which means intelligence was important, but again, since we're in a rural area, it's not as important as it would be if it was in a large city where education tends to be more important. So let's go through the list real fast. Strength. Yeah, we don't need to talk about this. He's obviously the strongest guy there. It doesn't really matter. Um, he's also rich. This is not part of the values, but it's always a useful extra tidbit. He talked about how he uses antlers in all of his decorating, and yeah, this is the tavern. Not many people would have someone else decorate their place, so we can assume that he owns the tavern, which means he's probably super rich. He might have inherited it. I don't know. And also, there's this little joke about eggs that he eats 5 dozen eggs to get as big as he does, and the joke is, and in the opening sequence, someone says, "I need 6 eggs," and someone else says, "That's too expensive." So, yeah, that everybody's been making fun of this combination for years. Also, how did he shoot an American bald eagle? I That's impressive because I don't think eagles are like Europe is more common with hawks than and not eagles, so that's interesting in itself. Um, so yeah, he's rich. He's also a very capable individual. Like he's shooting a flintlock gun multiple times in a second, and those things are barrel loaded, so that's literally impossible. He also shoots a duck, um, and you see LaFool in the lower area, what is it, lower left, gathering that duck, and that duck took about 4 seconds to fall, all from the time it got shot to the time it landed onto the ground. So that's about 257 feet, which is also very impressive with one of those type of guns. And LaFool also mentions that Gaston hasn't missed a single shot yet, which just continues to show that he is the best hunter probably in the time period with these stats. Also, I've been wondering for years what on earth is all the animals that you can figure out from this little satchel area. Like, I have been wanting to know this for years. Like, we have a duck, and we have something that looks like an elk or something, and so on and so forth. But I just want a full list of all the things that he ended up killing here. Um, so families, yes, he did indeed want 6 or 7 boys. Ugh, I really wish I made this like 5 years ago, so this would not be a part of the meme Heistgeist. So he does care about family. He wants a big family. Community, he is a natural leader. Everybody respects him, everybody likes him, and the funny thing is that nobody's afraid of him. He is literally the only Disney character or Disney so-called villain that no one's actually afraid of. There's not a single villager that is like scared of Gaston. Try saying that for any other villain in the Disney's library at all. Like like when he completely fails his proposal, they laugh at him. Um, and they try to cheer him up afterwards. And he does very normal things too, because when you fail a proposal, what do? Yeah, most people go out and get drunk because they're just like, oh, I'm sad, I'm going to get drunk. Not me, because I don't drink, but anyways. Um, but yeah, he is the only Disney villain that that the no character is actually afraid of until like Belle at the very end. Even when he's kind of being a jerk, she's just nervous around him and not actually afraid of him. Not until he like completely goes off the rails. Uh, but if we look at other villains, like if we look at Ratigan from the Grey Mouse Detective, he has somebody eaten because they were drunk and they accidentally called him a rat. Um, if we look at Captain Hook, he shoots somebody solely because, well, they were singing. Maleficent, yeah, no one messes with Maleficent. And yeah, it just doesn't happen. This is the only character where everybody actually likes the villain from beginning to end. Even at the very end, the villagers are never actually fearful of Gaston. A real sequel to this thing would probably be people trying to get revenge for Gaston because yeah, because it's from their perspective everything he did was completely reasonable. They didn't really know about the well, okay, we'll get to that in a second. He's also extremely polite, going along with that same thing. Like in the scene that you see here, he's asking people to please move. Pardon me, excuse me, please let me through is the final line that is used from him on this point. But he's just like really nice to everybody. So he is a good member of the community. It's not like he, again, if it was anybody else, they would probably shove everybody out of the way. Or if we're in Princess Bride, the giant would just say, "Everybody move!" And wait, this must be a mistake. Smart? Yeah, surprisingly, he is kind of smart. He's not book smart by any level, but at this point in the story, he is barred from getting past entire community to reach Belle, and so he decides, I'm just going to go into this house, go onto the roof, and just bypass everybody. And that is a level of intelligence. That's actually not. That's actually really smart for him to try to do it like that. So he's not an absolute idiot. It's just that he's put um all of his intellect score into like more survival type of thing, because you could see him out in the middle of the woods doing this type of thing, like, oh, there's a giant river, okay, then I'll just climb up this tree and jump over, and then I am past the river, that type of thing. It's a completely different type of smart, but it is a form of intelligence. So he's not an absolute idiot, he just doesn't care about books. So what exactly happened? Well, what is his fatal flaw? His fatal flaw is his belief. His belief is that I look the best, I am the best hunter, therefore I am the best. And Belle's the best because she is the most beautiful girl in the town. Some people argue that it's the three blonde girls that are the more beautiful, but you know, we're focusing on Gaston, so we're going to go with what he believes. And his beliefs leads him to believing that the best deserves the best. That is his underlying belief that he has throughout the entire movie. The best deserves the best. So since he's the best and Belle's the best, they deserve each other. That's it. And after that entire viewpoint is completely destroyed, well, then we go down the slippery slope. As you can see from his statement here, this is not a normal thing for Gaston. This is his brain grasping at straws to obtain that which he believes makes sense. I'm afraid I've been thinking, a dangerous pastime, I know. He 100% is acknowledging here that this is not how he normally works. He's not a thinker. But from that point, he goes over and bribes the asylum keeper, and then the asylum, and because of that, Belle comes back with the mirror, and when she shows that the beast is an actual entity and not part of her imagination at the worst possible time, he then goes over to the place and tries to kill the beast, and because of that, he ends up falling. And he does say and a fun little thing, his original line is "Now you're mine," or no, it's "Now you die" when he stabs the beast. But then they thought, ooh, that's a little too grim, and like he's trying to kill him. How much grimmer can you get? So they change it to "Belle is mine." So, I wish it was the original line, but I'm not one of those people that will change canon just to fit my own script. But it's because his obsession with Belle and his belief that the best deserves the best that leads him on this road to his own demise, which is fits perfectly in the entire idea of him being a tragic hero. Because as far as everybody else in the town is concerned, he is the best. He is the good old boy. And I will actually be getting that in another video, because this will not be my only Gaston video. I think I have like 2 more planned out. But it is interesting like how far down the rabbit hole you start going once you start realizing that Gaston initially was not a villain. He was a putz, but putzes are not villains. He becomes a villain. He he doesn't even do anything wrong for nearly half the movie. Like he goes about things the wrong way. Like he doesn't actually ask about what he think or what she thinks of him, which is also another thing that could have changed everything. And that is basically the other video that I'll be coming up with. But yeah, so I do have one more little thing right here. This is basically the crimes that I have between the Beast Gaston and, since I mentioned him, Maui. The Beast, he has two accounts of false imprisonment, which is 5 years in prison of $250 fine. Menacing, which can be years of jail depending on things, and he definitely menaces. And I didn't even know this was a crime until I saw somebody doing all the Scooby Doo's, and every episode was, or the 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 ghost was doing menacing as one of the crimes, which is hilarious. But that can actually give you like 1 to 5 years in prison, or 1 to 3 years in prison. So I thought that was hilarious, that just by scaring people, and he definitely scares and intimidates Belle. Let's not misunderstand that. And it's not even until around Christmas time. So I'm guessing it's actually around like October. That would be the end of the regular hunting season, I think, is around October. So for 2 months, he's constantly yelling at her and trying to bully her into doing what he wants, which is funny. But that ultimately leads him to about 7 to 9 years in jail with some fines. Gaston, on the other hand, two accounts of unlawful imprisonment. So the first one is, of course, Maurice. So when he has him imprisoned in the insane asylum. And the second one is Belle at the very end. A bribery of an official actually has 4 years and fines. Um, Extortion for marriage is also another 4 years. 4, 4, 5. And I do not count any charges, any murder charges, because his intention was never to kill Maurice. He was just in bad conditions, so that put him in fatal situation. And I don't count him trying to kill the beast either, because the beast to him is considered to be an animal, and he's a hunter. He's just, and at the very most, the most we could charge him is him trying to kill someone else's pet if he actually believes him and the beast and Belle has a connection. It'd be the same as some people who kills, their spouses or relations dog because they think the dog is taking up too much time. And sadly enough, people do that. So that would probably be that, and that would probably add like another year to this, because killing animals is not really high on humans' level of, you know, victims. But he still gets about 13 years, not too far off from 9, only 4 more years from the beast and fines. But here's the fun one. Maui, or however you pronounce that. Okay, unlawful imprisonment, 1 year, $1,000 fines, abandonment, 5 years, attempted murder, life, grand theft ship. I'm guessing her ship would be a high value item. Since they have an actual dollar amount on it, I'm not really certain how that translates. So I'm just going to say, since ships are pretty rare, it's going to be grand theft ship. So that's another year. And oh yeah, attempted murder was life. Did I say that? Oh well. And also theft of a god treasure. I'm basing this on the maximum sentence of that was ever given to somebody for stealing uh royal treasure, like crown jewels, I think it was. And somebody in during World War II, some platoon stole a whole bunch of stole the ground jewels from some place and they got 15 years, something like that. So I had that as the minimum because this is a god treasure and it had massive ecological things. Like you could probably tack on um environmental endangerment, or because it was, or inciting an ecological disaster, kind of like an oil spill, because taking the heart of Tafiti, yes, that I can say. I can't say his name, but I can say Tafiti, was actually causing massive ecological damage to the islands, and it was growing, and he is the center of it because he stole the heart. So he gets 22 years plus life plus fines plus maybe another thing. Um, so I just did this because I thought that'd be funny to actually see, the good guys and how much how many crimes they did, and it's kind of funny. Um, so yeah, I am the car bomb. Now get off my corner.